For the past 3 years, I've been working alongside wildlife and natural resource departments across the United States. And in that time, I've seen firsthand how much work goes into keeping our wild places healthy, and how many of the species we love to hunt and fish depend on that effort. So when I came across a video about game management in the UK, it stopped me in my tracks. The landscape, the animals, even the way the hunt was approached, it all felt familiar yet completely different. And I wanted to understand those differences for myself. That's how I ended up in the Cotswolds on a cool morning joining Warren Broad, a seasoned game manager with years of experience, to see how conservation and deer stalking are done on the other side of the Atlantic. Growing up in a small town in Kansas, I guess I figured I'd end up in the UK at some point in my life. What I didn't expect was how many times I'd keep coming back. Every time I return, I'm always struck by how life here feels both familiar and foreign. The traditions, the pace, the way people move through their days. There's a certain charm wrapped around centuries of history that always pulls me back. And each trip seems to last a little bit longer than the one before. In the past, I've stuck mostly to England's big cities and well-worn tourist spots, but this trip was different. One day found me in Loughborough, getting a taste for English sporting clays.
Oh, bird fly up. Get on your bottom board. Oh. Yes, pair dag, beautifully shot, well shot. Lovely.
A few mornings later, I was meeting up with a new hunting friend for my first experience with deer stalking in the British countryside. This is the Cotswolds. A patchwork of rolling hills, stone villages, and pasture land. Out here, around 75 people share each square kilometer, and the sheep nearly outnumber them 2 to 1. But in the heyday of the wool trade, it wasn't uncommon for a small village of a few hundred people to be surrounded by up to 20,000 woolly neighbors. Now, if the Cotswolds name sounds familiar, you might know it from Amazon's Clarkson's Farm, a show I can personally recommend adding to your watch list.
I can either go back to London and resume my old life.
Yeah, do that.
We'll touch more on that later. With the morning hunt ahead, I climbed into the right side driver's seat of my rental, pointed the nose towards the rolling hills, and set out for our hunting ground. Our guide for the morning is Warren Broad, a professional game manager here in the Cotswold. He's agreed to let me tag along on his usual morning rotation, targeting at this time in the season a fallow doe. Riding in the passenger seat of his UTV, we roll towards a nearby estate, passing bits of life that make hunting in the English countryside uniquely its own. Wandering equestrians share the road, and public footpaths cut through private land like old veins in the countryside. Out here, there's more to think about than just finding and stalking deer. As an American, the idea of a public footpath is almost hard to wrap my head around. These are public trails that cross through privately owned land, but by law have to remain open and maintained for public use. Some have been here for centuries, and others surpassing written history. Even with paved roads running alongside them, they are still used today by walkers, making their way from one point of interest to another. As we moved along the footpaths, Warren stopped now and then to open and close gates to properties. These gates to footpaths can only be shut due to bad weather, when there's a real chance of someone getting hurt. Because out here, the landowner carries the responsibility of a passerby's injuries should an unfortunate accident take place. We reached a nearby wood and spotted a small herd of fallow deer moving in the distance, but the public footpath had already worked against us. The herd had been spooked just minutes before by an off-leash dog. Coming to a stop, we eased out of the UTV and moved in on foot, with Warren's hunting dog Aspen trotting at his heels.
What we're after are like mature females. It's the time of the year where females make up sort of 60% of our cull, really.
We followed the herd along the edge of the field, noting the telltale signs that they've been lingering here before.
There's antlers on this. See, it's like smooth one side.
Oh, sure.
Most of them have stopped now because they're up so raw.
Until we noticed them slip into the adjacent wood. Pushing through the brush, we searched for any sign of the fallow deer we'd seen earlier.
Mostly in the evenings, because you can get in whilst it's still light and get ready. So I'll see in the morning when you're trying to creep into it, usually the deer are sort of already coming out, so you end up like bumping into each other.
Sure.
But about a quarter mile in, our progress stopped at a swollen creek.
Rolling into this field, we might struggle to get across the river to the other side, so we'll probably have to come along and around the bridge the other way. Because it's only a small river, there's no bridge, so you have to sort of foot cross it.
Sure.
But judging how much water's flowing into this field, I'd say it's probably a lot deeper than our boots are.
The rain from the past few days had turned the creek wide and deep, more than our rubber boots could handle in the frigid winter air. So with no luck, we circled back towards the UTV.
Like early season, so our season for fallow starts in August. You can start shooting the fallow males in August. And like the first couple of weeks, you always catch a few silly ones out that are, out in the open or staying out too long, or just generally out and about.
Sure.
Not being too careful, but
Not paying attention to their calendars.
you've only got to shoot a few, and they wise up fairly quickly.
Yeah.
And by the time the does come in November, they're pretty sharp. And then we can shoot the does, the females, from November through till March, but we can carry on shooting the males then until the end of April. So like the males are in for like 8 months,
Okay.
whereas the females are only in for 5 or 6. Kind of hoping because they went up, they might have just sort of milled round out in the field a bit, but
Yeah.
they knew what the score was. We'll go and look at a different area now.
Warren explained that on this property, we might encounter 3 different species: roe deer, fallow deer, and muntjac. Of the 3, only the roe is truly native to the UK. The muntjac were introduced in the late 1800s, and the fallow, which we were after this morning, traced their roots back even further. Their ancestors are thought to have been brought over by the Romans around the year 1000 AD. We headed for another estate where Warren thought we might have better luck finding a fallow doe.
This is a lot deeper than it looks.
But after a short drive, only managed a quick glance at a young fallow buck.
This is a young, he's actually a really poor male. He's got basically a left antler but not a right.
And a small flock of pheasants.
They're trying to put everything back to nature, and their farming shouldn't affect nature kind of thing. That's what they're kind of doing. But they accept, because they want like trees and things to grow and plant young hedges, they still accept that they've got to have correct deer management. That's the one thing they've accepted. So the only thing that really gets shot on here is the deer.
Real?
Yeah, otherwise it's being given back to nature kind of thing. And again, we don't have to shoot many, we just have to shoot a few.
On the way towards another estate, Warren told me how he has other hunters working the surrounding areas.
So like, and it's one rifle per area.
Oh.
So like, my guys, they go, I give them an area to hunt, I might just hunt that area. Like they can't hunt anywhere outside that area because someone might be in the other area.
So now you've got, so I guess they work with you to manage.
They're told what they can shoot kind of thing. So like at the minute they're all out looking for either fallow females or muntjac for me.
So you're aware that this is like a dream job in the United States?
It's a dream job for most people.
Yeah.
It's not as glamorous as it looks, mate. Everyone sees all the good stuff, don't they?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. They don't have to.
We run a venison processing business, so like at the moment, I'm only going out on Thursdays and Fridays because Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, we're so busy processing and butchering the animals to sell.
Sure, yeah.
With like the run up to Christmas, like all the restaurants are busy. Everyone wants their orders for Christmas. Like we done 200 boxes of venison this week just to people's houses.
Wow.
You know, and that takes a lot of work.
That's super cool that there is like a demand for it though.
Before long, we spotted a pair of roe deer does, or at least that's what they look like, seeing as Warren explained how roe deer bucks had already dropped their antlers by this point in the season.
Really cool fun animals to hunt, particularly the bucks so they actually rut in the summer.
And just as Warren had said they might, they stood watching us like statues, unmoving until they decided we weren't a threat. Further along, the land began to show its history. The remains of old stone horse guard houses from the 1700s still stood against the weather.
So they had statues up there at one point?
This is what's known as horse guards. There's two defending the long. So at some point in time, this is where my history of the area is not great. This generally was where the horse guards would have been posted. So people would have, sat on their horses under here, and they would have been guarding some form of settlement.
Of the estate,
probably obvious, of the estate, back at all, there would have been for some reason at some time something here in Napoleonic or Roman times needed protecting, so this was where they were based.
Wow.
So you'd have people, horse guards. So this is called horse guards.
So the settlement since then has been removed, but these are still here.
We go past it. There is still a settlement here, which I think is called Alfred's Hall.
Okay.
Which they're currently sort of trying to do back up. This sort of dilapidated stone hall, but I think it was from the Gothic times or something like that.
Really?
But yeah. You can read all about it online. It's quite interesting. But yeah, this is the horse guards.
That's pretty sweet.
We spent the day moving through the countryside in hopes of finding a fallow doe, but in the end, came up empty-handed. Back at Warren's base of operations, he walked me through the butchering process for the deer he manages across these different estates.
A maximum of about 100 animals a week if we wanted to.
Wow.
But we're averaging around 60 to 70.
So you and the other guys go out, shoot different animals.
So we harvest our animals. I also buy in animals from other stalkers, some people that stalk different areas. I buy their animals from them.
Okay.
They all come into our processing facility. We skin them off. The vets come in and inspect them like a slaughterhouse. A vet will come in and from the government inspect them and stamp them to say they're fit for human consumption.
Okay.
Then our butchers break them down into whatever, and out the door they go.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Waiting their turn to become European mounts were a few impressive fallow antlers, a reminder of the quality of animals found in this part of the country.
Good sized fallow deer for this area, a nice wide palm, and that one, that's a really nice one. Obviously these have all been skinned off, ready to be done into trophies. So they just sit in the water until we're ready to process them. We've got a roebuck in there, an old roebuck.
Oh wow.
That's ready for processing.
Is that kind of an average size
That's
roebuck?
a nice 6-pointer, that's a representative roebuck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Representative, what's that?
It's a representative of the species. So if we say a representative animal, it's a good representation of what a roebuck should be.
Okay.
It's a good representation of what a fallow buck should be, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And then I think and then that's a seeker deer there. That's a seeker.
Wow.
But yeah, it's not the most appealing thing to see.
Well,
but
I mean,
they get boiled and bleached, and then they get ready. They're all going on. They all got name tags on of people that have shot them, and they go on.
As an American, it can be tough to fully grasp how deer management works here in the UK. Back home, seasons and bag limits are tightly regulated by state agencies, and harvests are carried out by the general populace. But here, much of that responsibility falls to private landowners and game managers like Warren. Part of the challenge is cultural. With hunting far less common in the UK, there's often little public understanding of the benefits that broad game management provides. For now though, it's the work of people like Warren that keeps deer numbers in check and ensures the herds and the landscape they depend on remain healthy. A few days later, I visited a public deer park where the sheer reproductive power of these animals was on display. While the herds there are confined for viewing, the point is clear. In an environment with no natural predators and plenty of food, deer populations grow unchecked. And in a country with only 2 native species, now carrying 4 more that were introduced just in the past 150 years, it may be unrealistic to expect the ecosystem to balance itself out without active management. As my wife and I returned to the Cotswolds a few days later, we visited the famous Clarkson's farm shop, as seen in the Amazon Prime show, and managed to pick up a pack of venison burgers straight from Warren's butcher shop. It seemed like a fitting way to close out the trip, from stalking the fields in search of game to bringing home a taste of the countryside. But our time hunting in England doesn't end here. On our next trip to the countryside, we'll be taking a more active role in game management, setting our sights on a grand slam of my own design, the King's Cup. That means working towards harvesting all 6 of the UK's deer species: roe deer, red deer, fallow deer, sika deer, Chinese water deer, and muntjac. So if you'd like to follow along on that journey, or maybe even take on the King's Cup yourself in the future, be sure to subscribe to the MDO today to learn more. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe with the bell for more content in the future. Feel free to check out a few of our other videos on the Modern Day Outdoorsman, or check out Bo Angles, the largest fishing game channel on YouTube, with new videos every week.